175 on non-farm.
I think we come in at 150, but that's me. Yeah, I know you think
I
200.
think we
So
beat the number. I think a stretch might be this 212. Maybe that's like way out of whack, but I think right around 190 something. But I like 212 for a surprise.
okay,
161.
161. Dollar's actually firming on that, huh? So why is the dollar firming on that?
I think
Must
it's
be
just there's just not much
improvement.
participation. Like we
Um,
talked about, most everybody's gone. I mean, you're not going to be putting on trades at this
Canadian
point.
jobs, did the Canadian jobs come in better than expected? Canadian jobs,
Canadian 7,000,
43,000? 43,000?
43,000. Yeah,
What?
44,000.
Jesus. I mean, it's like, man,
But they
the
were expecting 54.
mm,
That was the Reuters poll.
oh, I thought they were expecting
No,
negative
you're right. You're right.
10,000.
No, you're right. They were expecting a loss of 10,000.
Okay. So now the dollar's gaining some strength here. I think you probably want to be I might actually buy some euro dollar down here.
I'd like to see if it takes it out a little bit lower if I was you. I mean, I'd advocate
I bought some at
selling
92.
the euro. I mean, selling the dollar on any strength.
I bought a little bit at 92. I just don't think the dollar's going to go anywhere. I think people are going to try to sell into strength, frankly.
I don't think so either, but I think a better buy would have been around 74 because the thought would have been the euro should have rallied. So now they're probably trying to test the stops a little bit. We'll see. I mean, it's I won't say it's thin trading, but there's just not a lot of participation.
Yeah. I think this pound is going to try to break out too.
Well, I tweeted that out that 24.94 is at 38%, and that stopped the market dead in its tracks yesterday, and it fell 50 pips. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Euro new
we come
lows.
back up here.
Yeah, I might have jumped a gun a little bit on this, but I'm really not too worried about it.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much participation, but as a scalper, I mean, that's the way I look at a market. It should have gone up, so then they're going to test lower. They kind of held it there, but then they're going to see if they can goose the stops. Now, that being said, yesterday I thought we'd be able to get past that 1060. And when they couldn't get past 1060, everybody started covering. You know what I mean? Then that launched that run up, and there's just not that much participation, so they were able to squeeze it way higher than what I would have thought. We'll see
Yeah.
what they got down here. It's just a matter of can they push it a little bit lower and then goose them a little bit to the downside. But anybody that's long the euro, they would say, wow, I thought they should have rallied on that number. So now they'll test the
Average hourly earnings went up, and so this is playing on along the whole lines that inflation is.
average hourly earnings jumped up huge, 0.4.
Yeah,
I mean, I haven't seen
0.4%.
0.4, like I said, in a long, 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 long time. So,
Yeah.
like I said, provided Clinton wins, that's all baked in the cake.
Yeah,
What happens is, with the 0.4, people will be saying, wow, they could move in March if job gains continue to be steady. Like I
yeah,
said, all that goes to the side. If Trump wins, you and I discussed that. I think the spoons lose 75 handles by the very next day.
yeah. So the euro's on its lows. It's at 81. I think you're right that we might actually see the 70s here.
Yeah,
U.S.
74 is
dollar
a good
Norwegian
area.
krona
Yeah,
is
I mean,
just
I'm
squeezing.
short. I'm just going to hang on. I mean, that's it. I mean, I
Look
will
at
be
bond
covered
stuff.
in the 40s. Yeah, see here, I mean, it's just a day trader scalper's mentality. I mean, that's what I do with the euro. I don't make the big money like everybody else does, like 100 pips and this, but scalping, that's my forte. You know what I mean? I'm just saying is that that's what I thought. We're going to have to push them lower. I don't know if we'll get much follow through because we just don't have the participation. But moves into 74, the market will look to go in and cover, although I'd like to see it go much lower. It's just not the reaction you would have expected on a weaker jobs report.
Yeah,
But the 0.4 in the wage gain is a concern. But like I said, all that's going to be overcast by this whole Trump risk scenario.
yeah. So look, we just pushed the stops below this intraday, which that might have been it.
Maybe so.
Maybe so. And then if you look at the pound, let's see, the pound.
We're at
Broke below
75,
this
so
little support
24.74.
here.
24.94 is at 38% of a 1,500 pip range.
You know what?
1906 to
You know,
34.48.
my number is a little different than that, and I think that's because your spike down might look a little different than mine.
Mine's 1906, and the
I have
rally up
2035.
eventually ran out of gas, which I thought we would have taken out 135, and props to you. You said no, 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 and they ran out of gas at 34.48. That being said, you're talking about a 1,500 pip range, so 38% is going to be really huge, and that's at 24.94. And yesterday the high was 24.95, and we subsequently lost over 50 pips. But then we
Yeah. See, the euro's just it might have just pushed those intraday stops. You know, that's it. It's just the
I thought we'd make it to 74, and we made it to 80. So
yeah, it's a good call, Paul. I mean, you're I mean, look at the cable's going to probably push back up a little bit. It's just they're just trying to goose stops in two different directions.
yeah, they
That's
did with
it.
the gold. They got up to 1308, and they've dropped to 1296. I mean, that's a
Right.
huge freaking range, and they're
Uh,
dead smack dab in the middle right now at 1302. I mean, actually 1301.
I just flatted the euro. I don't want it.
That's what I'm thinking of. My
covered
concern
my-
is that people are going to think the same thing. Like,
Yeah, it's just
it just didn't react the way. You know what? Are they really maybe going to pull back? And that's my concern, is that if you're long, everybody's going to be thinking, you know what, I'll probably be better just to get out real quick. And maybe some people bought
yeah.
it on the way down, like added to their longs, and then they say, no, you know, I got a little profit here, I can get out and let me get the hell out of Dodge.
Right.
I don't know what it's going to do at this point. I really don't. I think the risk is for lower, not a whole lot lower, but lower. But the upside, how could it not rally off
Wait,
of that weaker jobs number?
did you guys see this? I wasn't even paying attention to it. Did you see the Canadian? The Canadian dropped. It was down at. I was looking at it, and when I was fiddling around with the euro, I was looking at it right here, and man, they just scooped that up. Probably because of that OPEC news. You know, they're like, okay, I'm buying on any dip. It
Yeah, I
rallied
think you're right. I think that
133.80.
OPEC news, because it went down to 33.88 or
Holy
33.86.
crap! Holy crap! Yeah, so I don't know. I'm not doing anything, guys. I'm just gonna sit here. I don't.
I think it's just, I wouldn't say thin liquidity, like holiday liquidity, but there's just not much participation. You know what
No,
I mean?
you're right. No one wants to put their neck out on the line due to yeah, and even before, as we were doing our analysis this morning, Paul, it was like, okay, if we get any move in the dollar, whether it's a dollar weakness or dollar strength, you just got to fade it because
Exactly.
you're just
That's what I'm saying, is that if we drop into the 40s, I'm covering. And I tell you what, if you drop into the 40s, actually you could dip into the upper 30s. I think you should just buy the euro, because the people are going to be just they're going to be laying off risk. Whether you're long euro, short euro, they're going to be laying off risk on both sides. On this
yeah.
at this point. But we should have at least seen the 1140 on that number. So that's why.
I can't believe
To get out.
this dollar Canadian is just screaming. This thing is going to scream.
I
up to
think you
135.
hit the nail on the head on that OPEC news, and they were waiting to see how the number reacted, and they bought it on that OPEC stuff. And I tell you what, you've been singing that tune for a long time about crude is not going to be able to rally, that it's just there's too much crude, and people are trying to get away from it. And like I said, you're right. All those people lie, and people believe them, and they
do.
lie. Some of the people are the stupidest people I've ever seen. These people lie all the time, and everybody buys it every time. They're cutting back. They're going to do this. They're going to do, and they lie. And you know what? So many of y'all are just stupid suckers because y'all buy into that. And there was one trader. I'm not going to call her out. She's a well-known technician, and she was long as we got up above 52. She was on Bloomberg too, the whole works, and they were talking about, and I will say this, they were talking about a golden, whatever you call it, the golden the formation, and crude was going much higher, and I saw a lot of big people saying crude was going to 56 to 60 something, some people saying to 70, and where's crude now? They buy that story. I'm not kidding. Those people in the Middle East,
It's
like nobody's freaking business, because y'all are so stupid. It's unbelievable.
they're just trying to pressure Russia. That's it, and pressure, and then try to work it against each other. It's a no-win situation for OPEC,
You
and
said it right. They're all looking for each other, and everybody believe. I guarantee the F to you, if OPEC comes in and they announce some cutbacks, or they're going to expect some cutbacks next week, you're going to see crude rally $5, and everybody's going to be saying, "I'm telling you, crude's
guys,
going to $85."
we got to watch
Yeah.
bonds here too. You know what? We got to watch. Really keep an eye on bonds. Bonds are dumping.
40. I think the bonds see are the bigger picture, which is the 0.4 hourly wage gains. So I think the bonds will actually be a buy once we get past the December rate hike, provided that Hillary Clinton's.
Yeah. Well, we'll see about that. I'm wondering if the pound's gonna try to gain some. I don't even know what to do. I'm not doing anything. It's no.
I just unless someone wants to scalp the market, I think the risk for the euro is still a little bit lower. I'm going to cover in the 40s if we get down there. I think there's a possibility, but there's no guarantees. We just have to see what happens. The real killer is that dollar CAD. Now, that was something else.
No, yeah, and I wasn't. My attention was not on it, and that was my fault. I should have. I looked at it dip. I'm like, man, but the number was so strong out of Canada, and I haven't seen the numbers as far as news from Saudi and weak Canadian unemployment report. That was a strong employment report. What the hell are you talking about? Anyway.
It was a strong number, so you're right.
But I wanted to pick up the dollar Canadian. I just thought it was going to dip a little.
Discounting it, full-time employment dropped 23,000. So this is made up of a lot of the part-time workers, and we saw that happen about 7 or 8 months ago, where they faded the strength of the Canadian.
Yep, I remember that. I remember that. Yeah. Well, regardless, I'm not doing anything here.
Exactly. I think you're doing the right thing. I'm clean next week. I still have the euro short, and we'll see what happens. I'm just not that worried. It's a small position at this point, and I've been able to offset that with some good intraday gold trading, which I haven't done anything with the gold right now. And wow, what a range! 1308 to 1296 off of this number, and we're kind of like in the middle. We're at 1301 at this point, 13.70, but.
Yeah, I mean, gold's just very whippy. Silver's real whippy here. Bonds sold off towards trend lows, but they couldn't feed on those lows. Oh, hey, watch it! Actually, bonds are starting to rally here. I'm tempted to actually buy the cable, Paul. Tempted to really buy the pound.
Yeah, I mean,
and
it should have rallied off of the number. I think we could have rallied and got above 25.50, and the market quickly runs out of gas. It should be doing better. It should be doing a whole lot better. We should have already gunned the stops. Everybody's prepared for the stops to be gunned. So the fact that they didn't get gunned, I think that 24.94, that 38% just takes on stronger conviction. Where people think, I'll hang on.
Okay, let me check something because your data is off from mine. So let me see. You're seeing data that's very similar to this. Okay.
1906.
Yeah,
and
this
then we
one.
have that prior high of 34.48.
See, my data.
I thought it was going to go above 35, and it didn't. I thought it was going to go to 35.50, 35.75. You said no, and I remember it ran out of gas at 34.48.
Yeah. So the question is, if we break above this,
I just don't see that you have the juice to get up there. It could be different, especially now that we got low participation. Who wants to put their neck out on the line when you know that the problem is if you get above 25, who knows where they'll step in and take the other side? Because I told people, if you're long this, I'd be putting my limits at 25.58 or 60 to be exited on a bad NFP number. Well, we didn't get a bad number, but we certainly didn't get a good number, so we should have already rallied in the cable. So I think if they come up here, they dawdle around and then maybe start to pair back in, just like the euro. Here it is at 96, not doing anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I still think the risk for the euro is to go down to that 74, maybe 72, and then it's going to come back again into the range. So I won't even be able to get out of my short, and which is fine. I think the reason I'm not getting out of my short is because remember all the huge positioning on the way down. Everybody's brother, sister, and uncle were all selling the euro. I mean, some big research houses, and everybody was talking about 105 euro. I don't think those people got knocked out of the box yet. Now, if Trump wins the presidency, yeah, they'll get out of all those positions. So that's why I'm not trying to hang on for the sake of hanging on. I just think that if Clinton wins, I think that we go and make new lows in the euro within 2 weeks.
You think so?
We'll be down to we'll be in the 107s within 2 weeks if Clinton wins the presidency.
I'm a dollar buyer. Should she win? I am.
And with the bonds, with the NFP, with the hourly wage gains of 0.4, that raise in December is completely now baked in the cake. And I think the bonds are a buy once we get past that December rate hike, because we probably will see a slowdown, because then people are going to say, but wait a minute, the NFP numbers keep going lower, the job gains, they're still strong, but so we probably do get that dip in the first quarter. So I think the bonds will be a buy right after that rate hike or going into the rate hike. You'll see
Amit's asking, why is the Aussie so strong? I think you look at copper, Amit. Copper is really well bid, and I think that the presidential election is going to push the Aussie out of this triangle, no matter which way we're going to go. But yeah. Anyway, so Paul, it's kind of stinks that I feel like I'm like naked and not doing anything. Yeah, it's like there's nothing to do.
I mean, the last thing you want to do, and I used to do that, is force your hand to trade, and you just can't do that. Look, if you look at gold, if you look up gold real quick on a 15-minute chart, the people were prepared with their limits above and below, and now the market's dead as a doornail. That's the same. There's just nothing can happen. Like I said, in the euro, I think we can still go a little bit lower, and I think, which I tweeted out to some people, I think the SPOOs, you can see some short covering going into the upper 80s, maybe 90s. Yeah, that's going to be it. People just unwinding their positions on the other side, but they're not going to go hog wild selling the euro, and they're not going to go hog wild buying the SPOOs. Look at the SPOOs now; they're at 87.
We're going to be here pre-election, so we're going to be trading. We might trade up towards 2100. S&Ps are at their highs. They're going to squeeze.
I think we'll be in the maybe low 2090s, maybe.
Yeah, that's right. Let it squeeze up a little bit. You know, if you want to play, risk on to the upside, you can probably do that.
Exactly.
It's right off the 200-day moving average. We're getting really oversold anyway. But try not to get too aggressive, because as we approach next week, things are going to get very volatile. So intraday, you might be able to pick up some stocks to the upside. You can pick up, as Paul and I both mentioned this morning, you don't want to be short equities here. And I think most people realize you don't want to be short ahead of this 200-day moving average. That doesn't necessarily mean you want to be long. It's just, I think you're going to get shorts covering them up, after this very aggressive, we were 8 straight down days. Mm-hmm. Is that what it was, Paul? 8 straight down days?
I've been watching. I just look at the S&Ps intraday wise, but as far as each day, but I know the pressure's just been down, down, down.
Yeah, I mean, it's been some relentless selling in the S&P, so we might get a little bounce here.
But we talked about that range, remember, between 2075 and 2090, and with 2082 being smack dab in the middle, and 2082 is 161% of the extension of 2150 to 2108. So that's what I was sharing with some people earlier. I said, this is going to be good support. I go on a dip lower, watch for the SPOOs in all likelihood to start giving short covering as the day progresses on. And I said the upper 2080s, maybe 2090s, and then that's about, I just don't think you're going to see a whole lot. You know what I mean? I think the euro may work a little bit lower, so I think you did a great job exiting out of your euro. I don't know if you made a couple of dollars on that.
I did. I made
and you'd be underwater right now if you hadn't. And your best call of the day was, remember I said, hey, look, Joe Wiesenthal tweeted out about the dollar peso, and you brought that up, and you turned around and bought it, and you scalped out for a nice quick profit. I mean, that's probably the quickest scalp I've ever seen you in where there wasn't a report. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
You were only in that trade for about, I don't know, 3 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, just kind of sitting around scalping, and I think I might actually be done. I'm the pound Aussie's at highs of the day. I am long the pound Aussie here, or it's close to the highs of the day. I'm going to try to squeeze out of that thing a little bit later. That's why I'm hoping the pound pushes higher and pushes those stops, because if it does, it's going to take the pound Aussie with it. But Paul, what to do, man? What to do?
Nothing. I mean, here's the crazy thing. Gold, after $12 range on this report, we're now trading in a dollar range right now. I mean, it just
Yep.
goes to show you, everybody's, they played the report for whether they had their limits ahead. Like I told people, if you're long cable, have your limits ahead of the report. If we get a bad report, make sure you're out. Have those limits ahead of time at 25.57, 25.65. And now, I mean, obviously nothing happened with the cable. So in these other markets, people had their limits in, and now the market's quiet. And we're seeing some short covering in the SPOOs, nothing great, but steady short covering. And I think this is going to be, that's why I kept saying at the beginning of the week, when I told you, I go, NFP is not going to be a big deal. It's not going to be a big deal. Because this whole thing with the election is going to overhang the market like a dark cloud, and I don't care how much picnic basket you bring out, it's still a dark cloud hanging over the market, and nobody's going to take any chances because the risk is too great. If you're short and Clinton wins, you're going to get frickin' whacked. Short SPOOs, short the dollar. If Trump wins, man, you're going to get whacked if you're long the dollar, long SPOOs. It's just too much risk.
Hey, the DAX is at support here. Glenn just mentioned it. Been pretty bearish. Forex analytics, we've been pretty bearish the DAX here for moving the last several days, moving through the support and whatnot. But we've also noted the 10,200 channel, and for those of you guys that are those of you guys that trade the DAX, we're basically at 10,200. I mean, this is channel support. This is where you got to be looking for longs and looking for love in all the wrong places. Something like right over around here. So, yeah, we're getting a bounce and risk. Yeah, you don't want to be you don't want to be short risk down here, I don't think. And you know what? I am done with my pound Aussie. I'm finished with it. I'm out of that. Canceled that order. I'm done with the pound Aussie. Finito. And I think I'm just going to sit around now, Paul.
Same here, other than my gold trades have offset what's a small position. You're